I've always been a person that likes lots of things and get very interested in one thing and then jump to another and then never really finishing something. I'm the controversial coach, right? I'm the one that tells them, hey, take a year off. And I think I learned a lot of basics that I still use today. Becoming a dad made me really think about what I wanted to do. And I tell that story to everybody. I'm not trying to be a hard ass. This is what happens. It is what it is, right? You stress and you got to learn, right? In life, there's choices. I've lost some of that drive of always being like, I want to reach more and more and just really wait it out, put things on the table and wait things out. Which one's more important? It's definitely something that your body definitely tells you and you overlook it. And most people overlook it and then they continue to push on. Stress is something that you can't get rid of just like that, right?
This is where the journey of expanding empires in real estate, small business, and life unfolds. Join me for insightful conversations with industry leaders uncovering the strategies from overcoming setbacks to celebrating triumphs in business and life. This podcast is your guide through the roller coaster of entrepreneurial life. Whether you're navigating the challenges of small business or conquering the world of real estate, here is your empire. Welcome to Empire Expanders.
Hey, everybody out there in Empire Expanders world. Today we're talking to my buddy Ed. Ed does so many things it's hard to keep up with. Ed is a GC. Ed flips houses. Ed teaches people how to flip houses. Ed is a best-selling author. Ed is a real estate agent. And he does all this and has time to go on vacations with his family, have fun, train with Navy SEALs or something like that. He'll tell you when he gets here. It's crazy. He's one of those people that you try to keep up with. Like, say you're running behind them and you think you're going as fast as possible, and they look back and go, that's not fast enough. Watch how fast I can go. So let's bring my buddy Ed on and have a good conversation. Hey, man, how's it going?
Good day today.
Good. Did I miss anything of all the things you do?
I'm sure we can add more to the list, but I guess I'm, a man of many trades. Well, how does the saying go? A jack of all trades, master of none.
I think there's more to that everybody always forgets, yeah. But I don't know what it is.
I can't say it now. I can't remember it, but yeah, it's good. It's got a good ending. It doesn't end there. I've always been a person that liked lots of things and get very interested in one thing and then jump to another and then never really finishing something. A couple of things I got to finish. I like being a contractor and I being a real estate agent. If I really like it, I'll continue pursuing, right? And otherwise, I quickly discard it.
There's something good to be said for that, though, because some of us latch onto too many things and keep it.
Yeah.
It's nice that you got to the point in your life that you're saying, you know what? I've tried it. It doesn't fit me. Cast it off. Because it's like hoarding in a house or something. Some of us keep too much things to do in our lives because, I've put effort into it, so I'm going to keep it. You know what? It doesn't fit my life.
And we're in a habit of doing that from a very young age, too, because, usually when you get out of high school, the first thing you do that with is your college. I have a couple kids I'm coaching, and I'm the controversial coach, right? I'm the one that tells them, hey, take a year off. My nephew was actually one of them who recently just reached out to me, and he's about to graduate high school. He's a great soccer player. So he's got that going for him. He's a really good student, but he doesn't know what he wants to do, right? And what happens is they go to college, they choose a career, they pay, they do 4 years of it, they pay a shit ton of money, and they end up not liking what they're doing. So they have to keep that, right? They paid so much money, they're so invested into it that they have to keep along that path because that's what they did, but that's what they chose. The controversial part of me says, take a year off, do a lot of different things, what you're interested in, and then see what works out for you, right? See what you really like. Because at that age, you don't know what you like. You have zero experience. You've done nothing. And so like I said, I tell younger kids to take a little bit of time off between college if you're not sure what you want to do, because it's a big investment you're going to be paying for the rest of your life, and that doesn't go away, right? So make sure you know what you want to do, and make sure you actually like it and love it, and it's something that you actually want to pay thousands of dollars for. So I definitely, it's one of those things that I learned young. My first job was being a cook, actually a dishwasher, a local, actually still, the place is still open in Gardner. I won't say names, but it's really shitty.
I live near Gardner. I don't need them finding me.
Yeah, they'll find you real quick. And then quickly from that, moved to cars. My senior project in high school was how to build an engine, and I did pretty well there. So I thought that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a mechanic, and I quickly learned that I fucking hated it. Then,
Notes.
then I went on to get my, and you're gonna laugh at this. I went on to get my cosmetology license for hairstyling
That's a
and
completely different direction. You went right angle right there.
yeah. So that was also one of the things I learned that I didn't like. Sarah, my wife, wanted to. She's a hairstylist. She's got her license still, and we wanted to open a salon where we could do barbering and cosmetology. So I went to cosmetology and did that, and didn't like it. I hated my wrists hurt so bad when I cut hair. I can cut, and I'm pretty decent at it.
Yeah.
And then when it's useful because when my daughter comes around and says, "Hey, Daddy, Mommy's not here. Can you do my hair?" And I can definitely impress her by doing that, which is a cool dad trick. Yeah, I can cut my own hair, which is also useful. Hey,
Look in the mirror.
so I got like a three-sided mirror, and I can look around and like I got used to cutting my hair. I don't this haircut. It was my barber. I won't take his credit for it, but I can definitely do a haircut like this easily, and I can cut the back and the sides and stuff all with a mirror. So I did that.
So that was that your first foray process into being an entrepreneur, the barbershop? Just cutting hair. That was
run a business, right? It was she and I were gonna open up a salon, and we were gonna you were just gonna have a his and hers type deal. We thought we were gonna do great, and then actually we separated for a little while. And then I was like, I don't like this. I paid for that too, by the way. That was expensive. And then from there, I went into a different route. I actually went towards the automotive industry on the sales side. I worked for Advanced Auto Parts, and I climbed up the corporate ladder there. And I think I give a lot of thanks to their training program with Advanced Auto Parts. They have an amazing program as far as training their associates on sales. And I learned a lot of basics that I went on and used later on for customer service and projecting sales and stuff like that. And they gave me a lot of basics. I worked for them for a long time. I was there for like 4 or 5 years. Went quickly from just an associate to becoming a store manager and moved up. And I think I learned a lot of basics that I still use today. They had I do have to say they're an outright company, but they have a really good training program. And for me, I'm always the type that wants to learn everything I can, which is great. And it's also bad because then you go down rabbit holes and you just, get lost in information that you really don't need. And anytime they offered a program and, learning, a learning program, I'd say, hey, yeah, I want to do it. And I learned a lot. I can say I learned a lot. And from there, I worked at another part store. I left Advanced, went on to CAP. And then one day I was like, listen, like I'm having my daughter, I'm having a girl. This job pays well, but it doesn't pay what I need to do everything that we want to do. So I ended up saying, I've always worked in construction for my father. My father has always done construction and weekends and stuff like that. We were always like, me doing a siding job with them, a roofing job with them, a bathroom remodel. And it's funny, because of the struggle of not making enough money, I realized that I needed to make more money. And I went on to becoming, a contractor. I said, I'm going to build my own business. So I guess becoming a dad made me really think about what I wanted to do. And I needed to make some money. And I was seeing what my dad was making. My dad was banking. My dad would work in, like, we'd go to New Jersey, do like a job and walk away with like 50 grand and then come back and not work for months. And then, would get a big job like that, go, do the work and then come back. And I thought, hey, I think it's time to do that. Even though I remember like years and years ago, I was like 15 years old. I just met Sarah. And I remember like being so mad one weekend because he really needed me and I had to go to work with him. And like I had a date with Sarah in the afternoon and I had to miss my date because we had to work later to finish the job. And I remember I looked at my father and I was like, I hate what you do. I will never be a contractor. And obviously came around to bite me in the ass.
Yeah.
So,
Does he give you crap about that? Does like
oh,
he's like, hey, remember that time you said you'd be a contractor?
he does all the time. And he's a proud father, as much as he can be. He's proud that I did, got the license, and which I did. So like the first remodel that I did was a bathroom, and I was still working at CAP, and then on the weekends I was doing a bathroom remodel in Peabody, which was my first job. And I remember walking away out of that bathroom with $5K in my pocket in like a couple weekends, and I was like, yeah, I think this is it. Funny story, learning story out of that.
Yeah.
So I was in the middle of buying a 2-family for myself and my parents. I wanted my parents to live with us and us to live on the second floor. And we were like days before closing, and nobody told me, and this is for all the agents out there, nobody told me I couldn't quit my job. And here's the thing, right? Like now I got contracts, all kinds of contracts, right? Construction work. And I'm talking about like close to 100K in contracts that I was going to do in the next 6 months. And I said, enough is enough. I was making good money in CAP. I mean, I remember I worked on a Sunday. I was making like $400 that Sunday. And I just put my middle fingers up and I was like, I'm out of here. Like, see ya, and quit my job. And then right at closing, I think we were closing, or right before closing, the attorneys asked for the final stub. The lender asked for the final pay stub. I was like, what pay stubs? He was like, yeah, we need a final pay stubs. What do you mean? I was like, well, I quit my job, but here are all these contracts saying that I'm going to get about $100,000 in the next 6 months. And we lost the sale. We had put in money in the house too, because it was not a 203, it was an FHA loan. And in order for the house to pass, the owner didn't have the money. So I was like, all right, I'll put in the work. And I put like, I want to say like 15 grand worth of work in there. And then we couldn't buy the property. I remember the agent was so mad. And I was like, listen, man, yeah, I didn't know. I saw that I could make more money doing this. So I quit my job and went there. I'm like, I'm a new buyer. I had no idea,
Yeah. On a
that
grander
was
scale.
learning.
Sometimes little mistakes in our lives can cause bigger ripples.
Oh, yeah.
That's a little mistake. You quit your job. I've made little decisions that's caused bigger ripples. Like that small decision lost you your 2-family. But in the end of the day, right now you're still fine.
Yeah. And I think like today as an agent, I am much more communicative about that type of stuff. Like I one of the first things I talk about with my client, it's like, listen, man, we got this offer accepted. Here's a list of things to not do, right? Like, do not quit your job, right? Do not go out there and buy a bunch of furniture for your new property. Don't do absolutely anything until you have those keys in your hand. And that comes from learning experience, like really. And I tell that story to everybody. It's like, I'm not trying to be a hard ass. This is what happened to me, right? And that it definitely helps with learning experience for sure. But yeah, from there on, man, it's all been building my business and becoming, I'm one of those type of people that, and I actually was just talking about this with my wife. I'm very aggressive in my career, in the sense that like I like to achieve, and once I reach that ceiling, which in everything you do in life, you always end up reaching and breaking through ceilings. And once I became a contractor and I saw like, hey, I don't want to do work for homeowners like all the time. Like I want to be able to be picky and pick and choose what I want to do. And most contractors don't have that luxury, right? Whatever comes your way, you have to do, because on average, most construction companies are just, not as organized or not as well, in the market too, that a lot of people don't want to spend money, and it's very little, traffic for most people. And a market like today, it's a little different. There's a lot of work out there. People want to spend the money. But back then it was like, we got to a point where I was doing like all kinds of bathroom and kitchen remodels, which was what I like doing, but it was just getting tiring, and I had, at one point we had like, I want to say like 10 employees, plus an office with 3 other employees, and it was too much. I partnered up with a real estate agent, good friend of mine, Brian Orton's. He and I like built a company together, YC Builders, and we started flipping houses. We had a couple good learning experiences there, and we had a bunch of successful flips. And then, I went on to, it wasn't really working out. We were good friends and everything, but, he and I like had different views on what we should do. Nothing bad. I mean, it's just, I was more of a solo type of guy, and he wanted bigger things. So he went on to building another business, another type of construction company that did way more than I wanted to do. And I went a little less than we already were. Because at one point we had like 10 flips going. And that's when I started having heart issues. Really,
Yeah.
they seriously had to have I went to the hospital a couple of times to get myself checked, because it was like I was having a tough time trying to keep it together. We
I
sold
was
them
running
all.
3 flips at a time. That was hard enough. I was doing it
Yeah.
by myself. Yeah. Between them, what they don't tell you when you're running several flips at a time is your bank account bouncing everywhere is stressful. Money comes in, money goes out, money comes in, money goes out, money comes in. And it's just like 40 grand up, 60 grand down, 100 grand up, 120 grand down. And you're just like, wow.
Yeah. And you're always over leveraged,
Yeah. Yeah.
you have some extra money in the bank, and then you got to do all these things. So you end up, another great deal came by. I don't want to miss out on it. Let's buy it. And then we'll finish this one. And then we'll put the money from this one into that one. And it's a mess. I mean, even today, I do 2, 3 at the same time. And, luckily I have a crew, an in-house crew. I can work with them. I subcontract some of it. And if I have to strap the tool belt, I'll do it. I'll be boots on the ground if I have to. I don't want to. I think I'm young and whatever. My father, calls me out for it all the time. Like, I don't want to swing a hammer. I see me in a different role, making more money. And I know that if I'm swinging a hammer, I'm losing money. And, it's just not for me. So I decided that, I needed to either subcontract or just have a couple guys still. Right. So we closed the company, I kept 2, 3 guys, and then everything else, gets worked out, because, the punch list type of stuff, small little things, you don't call a company to do that. And I'm not going to want to do it myself. So I got a guy, right?
We glossed over fairly quick that a lot of entrepreneurs feel may not have gotten to the level that you did, but we don't talk about too much. You start having heart issues. You're doing 10 flips at a time. On the outside, you were very successful. You're doing 10 flips at a time. You get a construction company. Awesome. Inside, you're having problems. Can you talk to us a little bit more about what was going on there?
Well, stress can be a bitch. And when it is what it is, right? You stress, and we got to learn, right? In life, there's choices. Yeah, we always have a choice. You always have a choice and this is why my wife and I were having that conversation. It's just, I've lost some of that drive of always being like, I want to reach more and more, and just really wait it out, put the things on the table, and, wait things out. Which one's more important? Because if you're having health issues because of all the stress that you have to go through work just to make a little bit of money, for what? Because if you didn't have your good health, once you lose your health, man, nothing else is important. Money, you can give me all the money you want, but if you don't have good health, that money means nothing, right? And it could be, obviously you want to build generational wealth so that your kids and whatever are taken care of. Fine, I get that, and you can sacrifice some of that. But I learned that, sometimes we have to make choices and see which one makes us happier. And for me lately has been, being healthier makes me happier than being super, super successful at something. I am successful in a lot of aspects of my life, and being able to understand that health is more important than all the other things that I have to deal with. I do feel much more comfortable saying no to things, and even saying no to myself and saying, hey, you better, right? You don't need 4 flips. You can do with 2, right? It's easier. I'm cutting down the next couple of years. I'm going to cut down a little bit on the flipping and the construction. I'm going to focus on the real estate. I really like helping people sell real estate. I really like helping people, flip houses and coaching. And I've been doing that with 3 or 4 different people who have been very successful, and they enjoy that. And I also make money doing that. I'm not going to say I don't, which is good, but it's less stressful. I can put the stress on somebody else and say, hey, you're running the show. This is how you do it. This is what it's all about. And it's worked out pretty well. It's a really nice, little laid back program that I have. I help them buy the property. I help them find financing. We're getting into the lending world. I help them with the permits, the contractors, and I help them sell. So pretty much it's like, a bus drive through, flipping alley, right? They get to do all the things. They get down and they do all the things, and then they get back on, and here we go. It's the next
Yeah.
one, right?
You're holding the hand to the whole thing, which is nice, especially for
Yeah.
your flipper.
And they don't pay a lot of money.
And you can make mistakes and really lose some money real fast in flipping. I found out, like,
Yeah.
I have my one that I didn't lose money on because I kept it, and so I ended up selling it and probably breaking even. But yeah, I didn't.
Yeah.
All my other flips I made money, but I've seen people lose some serious money because they didn't do one of the many things you have to do right. If you didn't do it right, you lose money.
Right.
You said a few cool things in there that I want everyone out there to listen to and understand. Really get this. Listen really well to this. Ed and many other entrepreneurs have done this. His stress levels are so high, it literally affected his heart, right? It affected his health. You can only power through for so long. If you continue to power through, your body eventually is going to tell you, you know what? You ain't listening. I'm going to tell you a little harder. And that's what they did to Ed. The body's like, I gave you a headache. I made you tired. Not listening. You're still going through. All right. I'm going for the big guns.
Yeah.
So listen to those signs when they're coming. Otherwise, you talk to Ed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely go ahead. No, I was gonna say it's definitely something that your body definitely tells you and you overlook it. And most people overlook it and then they continue to push on. Stress is something that you can't get rid of just like that, right? Unless you're doing recreational drugs. You can't just say stress gone, right? But you can manage it and learn what not to do,
Yeah. One of the things to look for, and it's a little bit of a learning curve because it's different for everyone. You can look it up on Google and figure out what it is, but the signs of burnout. What are your signs of burnout? Because I burn out a lot the last couple of years, 5 years or so. This year, I'm trying not to burn out at all. Haven't done it yet. It's been 2 months, though. So I'm not patting myself on the back, right? But if you can feel those signs of burnout, you're getting, then you know to back off the gas pedal a little bit.
Yeah.
So you get going full speed, feel the signs, back off. My goal is to stay at 80. That way I don't feel the signs of burnout anymore because I burnt out. I've had both breakdowns, not the heart, but mentally was what hit me.
We all have signs. I realized I start getting like irritated very easily. And when you have young kids, it's tough. It's tough because you're going home, you got all these things in your head and the littlest things start to bother you. And you're like, that's when I'm like, whoa, like I'm the problem here. Right. And I quickly realize I'm very good at realizing I'm fucking up. Right. But I start getting headaches. I get tired all the time. When I get stressed, I get super tired, meaning like I start waking up later and later in the day. And your body tells you, and you got to learn that. That's why I decided to just slow down a little bit. I'm not saying I'm quitting. I'm saying like I got to manage it better, right? Because part of being an entrepreneur is being able to manage things. And you're managing all these different things, but you're not managing the most important thing. And that's your health and your stress levels. So I'm making that choice to slow down on certain things, do things that I like, enjoy them better, and just take it easy. And yeah, I mean, that's the best cure to it because you have responsibilities, right? You have to continue making money. You have to continue the businesses that you have. You can't just say one day, I don't want to do this anymore. And you could, but it's not good for your wealth, right?
Or your mortgage payment.
Or your mortgage payment.
There's another thing you said, Ed, that I really liked a lot. Is you said I'm successful in many aspects of my life. And it's, a small difference that you made there, rather than I'm successful. Because when people say I'm successful, all you think is money, wealth, business. You said in all aspects of my life. And by saying that, it changed my thought process that you're talking about love, you're talking about happiness, you're talking about fun, you're talking about travel. And I don't know if that's something that everyone thinks that, hey, that's things that could be successful in too, right? And you obviously have that mindset of like, dude, that's other aspects I can be successful in. It's not just business.
I learned to look at things differently very early in my life. Being sick makes you appreciate all the things, man. Like feeling sick and feeling like, oh, something could happen to me tomorrow and I'm not going to be here. That does something to you. That really puts things into perspective because then you realize what's more important than what. To me, all of a sudden, like things like money and the jobs and the flips had no meaning, meant nothing. The most important, I quickly realized what the most important things were for me. Like, I didn't care so much about the flips. I didn't care so much about the money. I started to focus more on my family, like, spending more time with my kids, spending more time with my wife. So, yeah, I mean, I look at myself as very successful and very grateful for the cards that were dealt for me. Like, I look at things like I still have my parents, everybody in my family is healthy. I have two beautiful, healthy kids. I have a great, amazing, faithful companion as a wife that I mean, we've been together for almost 20 years now, and I still enjoy being next to her. You know what I mean? So, as far as success, that's the success, right? That happiness, the family, owning my own home. That's what success is for me. And then everything else that I've accomplished is just icing on the cake for me. I come from a very poor background, man. My family immigrated from Uruguay. And I mean, growing up, 5, 6 years old, we sometimes didn't even have power at the house. My father would have to like link up the electrical wires to the freaking post outside for us to have. And my father and my mother were both working super hard. They both had jobs. They both had, they just couldn't make ends meet. So we came from a very poor family. So in a way, it's funny because in a way, I feel like people who come from that type of background, which you can find here, doesn't need to be in a third world country. People who come from a very humble, poor background are usually the people who are the most driven. I think is Jordan Peterson, who said that the people that are the hardest workers and the people who are essentially like very driven are those who come from backgrounds that have trauma, in trauma like poor poverty or any other trauma as a young, as a kid. So, for me, poverty is a trauma. I would never want my kid to go through what my family has gone through. I think none of my sisters, brother, or whatever, I don't think they would ever want their kids to go through that. And just looking at that makes me feel like, okay, that gives me that extra oomph to go out there and make sure that they don't go through that. Then again, I feel like in a way, I'm also taken away from them because that's also a life experience and it makes you appreciate more things and it helps you grow and think about things very differently. So I don't know, right? It can go both ways. I'm like that typical parent that came from poverty, but wants their kid to have everything. So their kids are like super brats. That's my kids. I still try to get them to appreciate things, and I show them pictures of myself. I show them pictures of currently like poverty in other countries. It's like, hey man, this could be, like you need to appreciate that you have a plate of food every day because some kids don't. We didn't, my parents skip meals so we can eat. So there's all kinds of ways that you can look at life. That's why I look at my life and I say I'm very successful and I'm very lucky, and that makes me feel comfortable and makes me feel happy. Everything else that I do is just because of being critical about myself. I feel like I could always do better. And so when I reach a ceiling, I try to break through it. Academically, that's one thing. As a business owner. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, that's huge for me.
We got to wrap it up a little bit, but you touched on so many things here today. That's amazing.
Yeah, you should make this a couple hours. I said you should make a couple hours.
Just do long form. Like somebody's gonna guys sit here for like a 4-hour podcast. Just make a book out of it. Because we could go deep into a lot of these subjects because you touched on finding your path. Because in the beginning you were winding your way through.
Yeah.
Like one of the misconceived notions of life is that we come out, we hit school, grade school, whatever. We come out, we know our path, and boom, we're gone on our path. Most of us don't do that. I've been through many iterations of my life. I came out of school as a welder, and now I'm coaching. Yeah, I welded for a couple of years, and I was convicted. I won medals, yay, and stuff like that. And then we fast forward to like the next thing I caught really talk is the whole overnight sensation takes 20 years, right? Because you're a big success now. Like, wow, this guy came out of nowhere. Well, you put in a whole bunch of work before you did that. And then we go into the stressors and how much stress is worth it in your life. If I get there in 10 years and kill myself doing it, or if I get there in 15 and be happy with my life, which one's more worth it? And I know that's broken record, I say to people, because it's something I was trying to do at one point in time. So,
And
man,
that's one thing that I love about the military. I got a lot of military friends that I hang out with. And, one saying is smooth is fast. And we do that, and we're clearing through a building, doing CQB, and smooth is fast. And in life is fast too. A lot of people just try to get from point A to point B by doing a lot. But there's people that get from point A to point B faster because they're steady, right? And they're consistent. And I felt at first, as a young person, I just dug holes everywhere trying to find the right thing. But then I realized what my thing was, and I just stayed on that path, making quick goals that I can continue to keep my dopamine levels up, because every time you crush a goal, boom, you feel great, right? So I do small goals so I can crush those, make myself feel better about those, but while looking at the bigger picture, 5 to 10 years, right? So slow, smooth is fast, in the sense that if you're smooth with your goals and, continue to climb the ladder little by little, you'll get there. You don't have to freak out and overstress and overdo. I feel like a lot of people just try to do a lot all at once. And, you got to get a basic foundation for what you want to do. I have a guy who called me. He's like, oh, I want to do some wholesaling out of nowhere. He knows nothing about real estate. He's like, I want to do some wholesaling. I'm doing this and that. I was like, dude, slow down. I'm like, why don't you just get the basics of it first before you go out there in the world and try to learn by falling and failing all the time? Because failing is good, right? You fail and you get up and you keep going. But when you fail over and over, more than likely you're going to quit, right? So instead of failing, why don't you get the basics, get some information, get things built, put some goals together, get some people to teach you some stuff, get some mentors, and then slowly get to your point, right? I think that's important for sure.
All right, Ed, you dropped a lot of knowledge here, gave us a lot of good tidbits about business and stuff behind business, mental stuff that happens, pitfalls. You, an entrepreneur, struggling entrepreneur, give us one tip for that person. What, if you go back and tell yourself something when you were in that position, what would it be?
Wow, so many things.
Yeah.
I think, let me think about that for a second. If somebody was starting new, what I would say is pick a good mentor. Choose, and this is what I told my nephew last week when he reached out to me and told me what his plan was. This doesn't necessarily need to be just for new entrepreneurs. It could also be for like just kids that are graduating and they want to go to college and they want to do something. I think that choosing a good mentor is definitely, just look at somebody who you want to be like, and don't be afraid to go up to them and be like, hey man, teach me everything. I know some of the guys I've become good friends with. I got to thank so many people that I've gone to and said, hey, listen, I see you're successful. I see you're doing really well. And usually if those people are really doing really well, it's usually because they're level-headed and they have a good mindset, and they won't say no to you. And if they do, it's because they're too busy, but they won't say no to you. And if you can provide value to them, I would say do that. I went to a hard money lender that I worked with, and I said, hey, I want to start flipping houses. I want to learn about how I can acquire money, how I can do this by myself. Taught me everything I know. I went up to a good friend of mine, Tom Gagnon, asked him about, buy and holds. He taught me everything. He literally has opened his books and said, want to come in here and learn anytime you want. I mean, Donna Millette, Den Loring here as real estate agents. I got to thank them. A lot of my success as a real estate agent has a lot to do with some of the mentors that I have, including more than anyone, Donna Millette. She's been a great mentor to me, and like I said, I try to provide as much value as I can, however I can, right? As a contractor, as an agent, as a friend, I try to provide some value so it doesn't feel so unfair. And I think that most people are afraid to do that because they don't have value to provide, but there's always something that you can do. There's always something that you can help them with, or it's just become a friend, and I've become friends with a lot of my mentors. Like I said, I've had many mentors that are great, that always, that have helped me out grow. And I got to thank every single one of them, because I didn't do it just by myself. A lot of them have opened the doors to me and said, hey, this is how you do it. Right. And this is my secret. And this is how we do. Donna Millette just did it last week. She's like, hey, you're doing this right, but you're also doing this wrong. You should try this. And this is what I do. And here's a copy of what I just sent out to people. I want you to copy and do it too, right? Not every agent is going to do that. Not anybody in this office is going to show up like that for you and then clap for you when you're succeeding, right? That's who Donna and Dan Loring are for me here in this office, and I'm super grateful to them.
Big shout out to Donna Millette for me too, because when I was starting, she was a big proponent of helping me and driving me and pushing me and just telling me like it is. That's one thing I really appreciate about her too, is she will tell you when you're screwing up. And
we're loved and hate by that, by the way. I'm like that, and people love us, and people hate us. They hate us for that.
Yeah. You have to know where it's coming from, because she helped me so much in the beginning to get where I am today. So, Ed, if somebody wants to find you, talk to you, learn a little bit more about what you do, learn how to flip, have you help them buy something, whatever it is, what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, I'm all over social media. You can look me up on Facebook, Instagram, all the socials. Ed Y Ariola or Eddie Ariola. My email address with Keller Williams is edariola@ariolacapital.com. No, that's my business one. edariola@kw.com. I'm sorry. And, you can just look me up on Google. I'll come up, and you can set up a meeting with me anytime for any type of conversation. I'm good to talk. That's one thing about, random people who called me all the time, and they just said, hey, man, I just saw you. I just heard of you, or somebody gave me a number. You want to have a conversation about real estate? Sure. Why not?
Awesome. And guys, Jason, as you know, you can find me easiest on Facebook, Jason L. Regan. Just look for that for Massachusetts. I will respond to Facebook messages there the most. Instagram I'm on occasionally, and you'll find me on YouTube and the other channels too. So, Ed, thanks, man. I appreciate you giving back and showing about there, what you've done and how you're getting over things. Thanks for being here, man.
Pleasure being here. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for hanging out with me today on Empire Expanders. Don't forget to subscribe and follow my social media channels for more insightful fun. Also, explore the links in the show notes. If you've enjoyed what you heard, giving us a 5-star rating would really help us out and be appreciated. Stay tuned for more on Empire Expanders.